Hi there, welcome back to Spring Into Math. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about adding rational numbers. So let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to take a minute to review how to turn mixed numbers into improper fractions. It's actually really easy if you remember the steps. So there are 3 easy steps to turning a mixed number into an improper fraction. Let's take a look at them. The first one, we simply multiply the denominator with the whole number. We add the numerator, and then we keep the denominator the same. It's almost like a wheel. It's almost like a circle. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I'm looking at 11 and 2/3, the first thing I want to do, my first step, is to multiply the denominator with the whole number. 3 times 11, and I get 33. Then I add the numerator, 2. So now I have 33 plus 2 over 3, which gives me 35 over 3. Leave the denominator the same, and you're good to go. You have now turned a mixed number into an improper fraction. Pretty easy. Okay, I also wanted to talk about the addition property of fractions. And essentially, this is just kind of showing you visually that when we're adding fractions, we absolutely have to have a common denominator. Assuming A, B, and C are all real numbers, A over C plus B over C will equal A plus B over C. So essentially, this is just showing you that you need to remember when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you have to have that common denominator. Are you ready for some practice? Okay, the first one we have is 1/3 plus 2/3. This one's super easy because we already have a common denominator of 3. And now we have 1 plus 2, which gives us 3. Hopefully you remember that if you have 3 over 3 or 7 over 7, any number over itself is going to be 1. Okay, let's look at this next problem. We have 4 and 1/7 plus 2/7. Okay, so what you could do to make this problem simpler is break apart the whole number 4 and the 1/7, because 1/7 and 2/7 already have a common denominator, and the whole number 4 is good to go by itself. So now this problem simply becomes 4 plus 1/7 plus 2/7. 1/7 plus 2/7 gives me 3/7. And then I just add the whole 4 to the 3/7, and I get 4 and 3/7. If I wanted to turn that into an improper fraction, where my numerator is larger than my denominator, it would be 31 over 7. Moving on. Really quickly, I wanted to take a minute to talk one more time about the commutative property. The commutative property is really helpful in addition. It helps us to remember that we can add in any order. If you look at the word commutative, you should see the word commute in it. And to commute means to change positions. Maybe you've heard a grown-up saying they have a long commute to work, or they have to drive a long way. I like to pretend I see the actual number 2 driving a car and moving to another place, another city. It is moving. The number can move into another position, and it doesn't affect the sum. So let's take a look at what that looks like with actual numbers. If we have 2/5 plus 3/5, that gives us a sum of 6. But if I switch the order of those numbers, 3/5 and 2/5, it does not affect my sum. I still get 6. And that is the commutative property. The other property I wanted to talk about for addition is the associative property. Now, the associative property, I want you to take a look at the word associate or group together. Think about the people in your life, the people that you associate with. I picture a bunch of kids standing around together. So if you have 4 kids standing around together and then they move to a different group, they're still associated. And basically what the associative property of addition tells us that however we group numbers together when we're adding will not affect their sum. So let's take a look at this one with some actual numbers. So the first one we have 1/9 plus, and then I have grouped here 2/9 plus 5/9. And now on this side of the equal sign, I've switched it to where I've grouped 1 over 9 plus 2 over 9, and the 5/9 is added on after that. Now let's solve this and see if our answers are the same on both sides of the equal sign. 2/9 plus 5/9 is 7/9. 1/9 plus 2/9 is 3/9. I've got common denominators here, so I can add and I get 8 over 9. I've got common denominators on this side. Now I can add 3/9 plus 5/9 also equals 8/9. And they are equivalent. They are the same on both sides of the equal sign. Also, it's important to talk about common denominators. Just remember, when you're adding and subtracting fractions, you must have common denominators. So there's a pattern here that I've written down that might be helpful. Use this pattern to help you. A over B plus C over D. We would need to have a common denominator to add those two fractions. And the way to do it, I've color-coded them to make it simpler for you, is for our AB here, in order for that to have a common denominator, we're going to have to multiply that by D. Again, we always have to do to our numerator what we do to our denominator. And that is going to lead me with A times D over B times D. All right, now similarly on CD, I'm going to have to multiply that by B so I can get a common denominator as well. So here's my CD, and there's the B that I have to multiply my denominator D by so I can have a common denominator of BD. Again, remembering I have to do to the numerator what I'm doing to the denominator. And this CD times B over B gives me BC over BD. Now look, I've got what I was looking for. I've got common denominators, BD. My problem then becomes AD plus BC over BD. And that is a common denominator. All right, let's do some practice. This fraction, 2/11 plus 1/3. So first thing you won't need to be thinking about is, what will my common denominator be? 11 and 3. All right, so your common denominator is going to be 33. You're going to multiply those two together. And I've written here, remember, always do to the numerator what you do to the denominator. So my first fraction is 2 over 11, and I'm going to have to multiply, 2 over 11 by 3 over 3. Because again, always do to the numerator what I do to the denominator. I need to multiply 11 by 3 to get 33. Now on the other fraction, 1/3, I'm going to have to multiply both the 1 and the 3 by 11 over 11, so that I can get the common denominator of 33. And then I simply multiply to get 2 over 11 times 3 over 3 gives me 6 over 33. And 1 over 3 times 11 over 11 gives me 11 over 33. And now I'm just adding fractions. I'm in a good position because I've given myself the common denominator of 33, and I have 6 over 33 plus 11 over 33. 6 plus 11 is 17, and my answer is 17 over 33. All right, guys, that just about wraps it up for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.